Beyond the Hype, a fashion lifestyle tech podcast. Presented by Stephanie Williams and Greg Lewis.
Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be talking about something pretty interesting. We're going to be going beyond the world of just typical tech and going into the world of high fashion. Well, I guess not really high fashion. It's smart fashion is what they're calling it these days. Silicon Valley is suddenly just so interested in what we wear. And it's not just about those, fitness trackers that we've all seen. We're talking about like a total reimagining of the fashion industry as we know it.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. I mean, it really is a crucial shift that we're seeing here. We've got these reports showing that global fashion sales have just absolutely tanked. They've dropped 15 to 30%. And supply chains are just a complete and utter mess, with more than 2/3 of businesses saying that they're feeling the squeeze. So there's definitely a real hunger for change, and this might be it.
Okay, so let's unpack this a little bit. We keep hearing all these articles talking about Silicon Valley, venture capitalists, VCs, pouring all this money into something called smart fashion. But what does that even mean?
Right. So think of it this way. It's not just about slapping some technology on a clothes. You remember when Meta, the company behind Facebook, partnered with Ray-Ban to make those smart glasses?
Oh, yeah.
That's like a tiny little glimpse into what this whole smart fashion thing is all about. Merging technology with these big established brands to create something totally new.
So it's not just wearables then, it's about changing the whole game of fashion.
Exactly. And get this, Metaverse Fashion Week 2024, it's being seen as like a turning point for this whole thing. We're talking billions.
Wow.
Billions of dollars from VCs and angel investors, all betting on this new vision of fashion.
Okay, now that's serious money. But what's in it? For the average person like me, someone who's not like a tech giant, or a high fashion designer?
That's a great question. And I think that's what makes this whole thing so fascinating is that smart fashion is opening up doors for everyday investors like you and me. It's not just about buying stock in these luxury brands anymore. This is about shaping the future of fashion itself, what some people are calling self-fashioning. You get to directly invest in the ideas and the brands that you think are going to define what we wear, both in the real world and online.
So you're saying we can all be fashion-forward thinkers now?
Yeah, kind of.
But how do we make sense of this? How do we make sense of this new world, this merging of fashion and venture capital?
Well, you have to start thinking like a startup. And that's where this guy, Andrew Romans, comes in. He wrote this book called Masters of Raising Venture Capital: Inside Secrets from Silicon Valley. And Romans has been a VC since 2005, investing in everything, from media and fashion to even blockchain projects. So he's really seen it all.
He sounds like the perfect guy to learn from then. So what are some of the key insights that he offers in this book?
Well, one of the biggest things he talks about is that you have to build a sustainable business. Don't just chase the funding. He says that something like 80% of entrepreneurs are so focused on just getting money that they totally forget about the basics of actually creating a profitable business.
So it's not all about the hype. You need to have a solid plan.
Exactly. And when it comes to that funding, Romans really stresses how important it is to know exactly how much money you need. He says you should aim for a 24-month runway, which basically means having enough cash to operate for 2 whole years.
Yeah.
And you need to start fundraising for your next round way before you actually need the money.
So don't wait until you're running on fumes to start looking for more fuel.
Exactly.
Good advice. Anything else stand out to you?
Yeah, definitely. He also has this warning, especially for people who are interested in the blockchain and NFT space. Now, I'm sure some of our listeners are already familiar with NFTs, non-fungible tokens, but basically they're digital assets, like a deed for a unique item, but it's all digital. And he says to be really wary of con artists and people who promise you're going to get rich quick. He's really big on the slow and steady approach, focusing on long-term patient growth, which honestly is probably good advice for anything in life.
Yeah, that's true. Slow and steady wins the race, right?
It's all about playing the long game. But going back to smart fashion, Romans isn't just thinking about these individual companies. He's got some pretty big ideas about the U.S. economy and its role in all of this.
Okay, so let's get into that. What's his take on the economy and how it relates to smart fashion?
Well, he thinks the U.S. needs to seriously increase its population, way up to 2 billion people.
2 billion?
Yeah. And he says the way to do that is by attracting a ton of high net worth individuals and highly skilled immigrants.
Wow, 2 billion. That's more than double what we have now. What's the reasoning behind that?
So his argument is that this huge influx of people and talent and capital. It would just supercharge the economy, and it would allow the U.S. to offer way better benefits to its citizens and really solidify its place as a leader in fields like, you guessed it, smart fashion. He even suggests using AI to identify and invite promising startups and individuals from all over the world.
So it's not just about bringing people in, it's about being really strategic, about attracting the best and the brightest minds to fuel innovation. I can definitely see how that would create a breeding ground for new ideas in fashion and technology.
Exactly. And I think this ties into this broader shift we're seeing in Silicon Valley. They're moving away from investing solely in things like semiconductors and the internet. And they're looking at global opportunities. They're recognizing that innovation can come from anywhere. Smart fashion is just a perfect example of that.
So it's like Silicon Valley is expanding its horizons, looking beyond its own backyard for the next big thing. Yeah. And it sounds like smart fashion is right in their crosshairs.
Absolutely. And Romans has observed that the U.S. economy is becoming really, really attractive to European investors who are looking for better returns. He even throws out this question, what if these major fashion groups, like Kering, LVMH, Richemont, decided to invest in 7BC Venture Capital, which is Roman's firm, to kind of get a foothold in this world of smart fashion startups.
Now, that would be a power move. These established fashion giants partnering with a Silicon Valley VC firm to get in on this new wave of innovations, like two worlds colliding.
Yeah, it is a fascinating dynamic. But speaking of collisions, what do you think this means for the future of fashion itself? What happens when you bring together the cutting edge of technology and the artistry of high fashion?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, it almost feels like we're seeing this clash of cultures, but one that could lead to something really revolutionary. What do you think? What do you think this future could look like?
Well, I think what we're seeing is this convergence of technology and style. Fashion is no longer just something you wear. It's becoming a social medium, a way to express yourself, not just in the real world, but in the digital world too.
Yeah, it's like blurring the lines between real and virtual, creating these new ways to showcase your individual style in both spaces.
Exactly. And NFTs and other digital assets are playing a huge role in this. Now, there's still a lot of uncertainty about how profitable all this will be long term, but they do represent this new frontier in fashion, allowing people to own and trade digital garments and accessories.
That's wild. We could be wearing digital dresses in the metaverse. Or customizing our avatars with these one-of-a-kind virtual fashion items. But what does Romans think about all this? Is he buying into this whole NFT fashion craze?
Well, he's actually a bit skeptical about some of these NFT fashion startups. He prefers what he calls disintermediation models, where creators connect directly with consumers and cut out those traditional middlemen.
Disintermediation, that's a mouthful. Can you break that down for us?
So think of it like this. A musician sells their music directly to their fans through their own website, and they completely bypass the record label. Roman sees that as a much more sustainable and empowering model. It gives creators more control over their work and lets them build a closer relationship with their audience. He even compares it to when Radiohead did that Pay What You Want album, where they basically said, screw the record label, and they let fans decide how much they wanted to pay for the music.
So it's all about giving power back to the creators
and
fostering a more direct connection between them and their fans, or in this case, their customers. It's a really interesting approach, and one that could have some major implications for the future of smart fashion.
Definitely could. And it raises a really important question. What does this mean for the rest of us, the people who aren't fashion designers or tech moguls? How do we navigate this rapidly evolving world of smart fashion?
That is a great question, and one that I'm sure a lot of our listeners are wondering about too. So let's shift gears a bit and talk about what all of this means for the average person.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, so we've talked about a lot. Silicon Valley investing in smart fashion, the whole rise of NFTs and digital fashion, even Roman's vision for making fashion more democratic. But for our listeners who are ready to jump in, what are some practical steps they can take to be part of this smart fashion revolution?
Well, I think the first step is just staying informed. Keep up with all the latest news and trends in the smart fashion world. There are so many resources online, industry blogs, podcasts, social media groups, you name it.
So be a curious explorer. Keep your finger on the pulse. Any specific platforms or websites you recommend?
Oh yeah, definitely. If you're interested in the investment side, there are platforms popping up that focus on smart fashion startups. You can also follow VC firms like Andrew Roman's 7BC Venture Capital. See where they're putting their money.
So follow the smart money. See where the experts are investing. What about for people? More into the creative side of smart fashion, the design and the technology.
There are tons of online courses and workshops teaching everything from digital fashion design to coding for wearables. And don't underestimate social media. Places like Instagram and TikTok, they're becoming hubs for showcasing and discovering new trends and creators.
So immerse yourself in the culture. Follow the designers and brands that inspire you. Even share your own ideas.
Exactly.
Sounds like there are endless possibilities.
There really are. And remember, smart fashion isn't just about the tech, it's about the people. Connect with other enthusiasts. Share your thoughts. Be part of the conversation. That's how we shape the future of this industry.
Be an active participant, not just a passive observer. Speaking of shaping the future, what about the impact on the economy? Could this be a major job creator?
Oh, absolutely. We're already seeing these brand new job categories pop up, like digital fashion designers, virtual stylists, NFT fashion traders, even specialists in wearable tech development. And as the industry grows, so will the demand for these skills.
So a whole new ecosystem is being created with opportunities for people from all backgrounds. It's not just fashion or technology anymore. It's this intersection of the two.
Right. And it's not just about creating new jobs, it's about transforming existing ones. Think about traditional fashion designers. Now they can learn digital design, create virtual garments for the metaverse, or retailers. They can use augmented reality to make shopping more interactive, offer personalized recommendations.
So smart fashion is breathing new life into the entire industry. It's not about replacing the old, it's about enhancing it and evolving it.
Exactly. And I think this brings us to a really important point. Smart fashion is exciting, it has tons of potential, but we have to remember it's still a very young industry. There will be bumps in the road.
So temper the enthusiasm with a bit of realism.
Right, like any new frontier, there are risks. Some startups will succeed, others will fail, some trends will catch on, others will fizzle out. But that's all part of innovation and discovery.
It's a grand experiment.
It really is.
And we're all part of it. For our listeners who are ready to jump in, what's the most important thing to remember?
I'd say be informed, be curious, and be discerning. Do your research, ask questions, and don't be afraid to challenge the status quo. The future of smart fashion is still being written, and we all have a chance to contribute.
Be an active participant, engage with the ideas, explore the possibilities, and most importantly, have fun with it.
Absolutely. I think we've given our listeners a pretty good deep dive into the world of smart fashion. It's exciting. It's changing fast. I can't wait to see where it goes.
It's been a fascinating journey. Thanks for guiding us through it. And to our listeners, we hope you enjoyed this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep imagining the possibilities. The future of fashion is in your hands.
Beyond the Hype, a fashion lifestyle tech podcast.